Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, I lost you there. Harper. So Harper, again. Interestingly, I only discovered Harper this week, so I don't know too much about the background or the band, but when they sent me a track, I was like, okay, that's really cool, and I went and downloaded a few more. For me, again, there's a kind of 90s feel, but more in a kind of Blur way than a grunge way, like we were talking about with the Seasons Hollow track earlier. It's more kind of 90s indie, proper indie, I like to call it. But there's also a kind of Skynyrd influence, Leonard Skynyrd and that kind of era as well. So again, interested to know what you think. I think these guys are brilliant. And I was really impressed. I'm really happy to have found them.
Right on. So here we go with Harper and Eastern Road Dance. Do this. Right on. That was Harper with East Road Dance. You know, that was a cool little blues riff they threw in there. Like really catchy, really good tune. Like I enjoyed the vocals, and yeah, it was a good kind of rock tune. Like I said, with some cool blues riffs in it as well. Like I really dug it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's funny just as we're chatting offline, like all the different bands we listed. I'm listening to that, so I'm thinking like Blur,
right?
Libertines, mixed with kind of Skynyrd, and then there's all again there's a bit of a punk attitude going on. I think we've got an attitude show tonight. I haven't heard most of the playlist, but yeah, it's just I really like it, and it kind of manages to put a lot of things together. And make them sound good, which is a challenge. You know, I often find if I try and mix more than one style in a song, it just sounds awful. But some people can pull it off, and these guys are those people. So very, very good. One Man Standing is absolutely nailed with his next, what will hopefully be his next point, where he just said to us what it sounds like. So go, Brian.
Yeah, you know, this is one of the reasons that I really enjoy being on this show, because we get a couple of guys together that review these songs, and we all sit there and we say, we hear this, this sounds awesome. And then it just reminds you of one of the reasons why you just love so much different stuff about music. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm just so passionate about this stuff. And that's one of the reasons I'm so thankful and happy to be on this show. But, you know, one thing that I heard when I was listening to it right away, it reminded me of a couple of riffs from the Gin Blossoms, which was, you know, back in the 90s, they were, you know, a popular, you know, radio pop band, you know, at least in the United States. And they had a lot of really good guitar stuff that was hidden behind the normal pop sound. So if you were a musician and you were listening to them, you were like, wow, that's really cool. There's a lot of hidden stuff in there, and there's a lot of really good riffs. If you were like the normal, average, everyday person listening to the song, then you were like, yeah, this is a good song. It's great. You know, it's catchy and stuff. And then the other thing that I also heard in there was a little bit of Blue Oyster Cult too, and I was like, wow, there's some really good licks in there. So I was really pumped up about that too. So there was a lot of nice stuff in that song, and like the guitar work again was really good. You know, and of course we had a bass break in there, so I mean that might be, we might have a resurrection of that theme again. I don't know, but either way, it's exciting. So it was good stuff. I was thrilled with it.
Right on. Next up, we have a band called Chase the Day. And Mike, this is one of yours again, so go ahead.
All I'm going to say about Chase the Day is that they call themselves heavy pop. I call it rock and roll.
Okay, so here we go with Chase the Day and Forget Your Name. Dig this.
Sound. You chose your side. Was your mother proud? No, you cannot pray. No, you cannot stand. There's another page away from the tired hand. So here I am. So here I am. Thrown into that place where I forget your name. We've been here before. Can you start again? Oh, I'm thrown into that place where I forget your name. We've been here before. Pick up and start again. If I lose all hope in my fellow man, would you cut the rope, or would you let him hang? Oh, if they came for me, would you make a stand? Oh, up on your feet, say here I am. So here I am. So here I am. Thrown into that place where I forget your name. We've been here before. Can you start again? Oh, I'm thrown into that place
Chase the Day, Forget Your Name, and man, I don't know what world that's hard popping, but that's definitely rock in my eyes, man. If not like early '90s alternative as well. I mean, that was kind of grungy as well, like vocally the whole deal. That was a solid tune.
We are having a bit of a '90s night actually, which is quite cool.
A bit.
Yeah,
I like the way it's been put together, and I'm very happy with that. Yeah, I love that. There's a few things in particular I really like about that. I love kind of, and I guess this is where the pop thing comes from maybe. I love just those little licks, repetitive, I don't know what you call them, but they're those catchy little lead breaks, but they're not like massive solos where you can kind of sing along to it and get into it, and you can imagine just going, yeah, and they do that, and they have that one that repeats, which is really nice. I love it when a band is like doing something and like, and then they stop for like a beat and then they go back in. I just think that's really powerful. And if you can do that live, I think that's wonderfully tight. It sounds amazing, and obviously it's not live, but presumably they can, otherwise we wouldn't be able to play it on the record. And I generally just love the sound. And again, arguably there's some punky influences in there. Arguably, it's very 90s. Arguably, that's gonna be something we now pick up on every soundtrack song, and it will be about punk and attitude throughout the rest of the show, which is fine. I am happy with that. I think you guys are as well. So yeah, loved it.
Yeah, I was digging it too. I can definitely see there is a '90s feel to some of the stuff that we have going on, but I mean it's all good stuff. I mean, there was a lot to love about some of the '90s bands, and even if you take some of the heavier acts, and if you take some of the mainstream acts, the '90s was a really good time for music, especially in the alternative and in the rock era. And I can see that there's a decent amount of influence from these guys with that too. I can agree with Mike, and we were talking about this a little bit off the air. I personally am a big fan of, when you have a verse going and you cut the guitar and you let the bassist just really shine for a minute, because it takes the bottom out of the song, keeps a lot of the punch there, and a lot of people can really, sing along, get in, focus on the vocals and stuff, so it makes it a little bit more powerful. There was a lot of good techniques like that, and it had a really good heavy vibe to it. It did have heavy pop. I got a little bit of Fuel feeling in there, if you're familiar with the band Fuel from the 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely love those guys, great guitar work in there, and I got a lot of feel for that, so I was enjoying it, and, I hope the theme continues. We put everybody's bassist in fear last week. This guy, the bass line that we just heard in this song was fantastic too. I mean, there was a lot of good bass pumping on this, so I was digging it. And I hope the theme continues tonight. We're doing well.
Right on. So just to get through the next song, I got a few '90s tie-ins here. So first off, speaking of '90s, the original lineup of Smashing Pumpkins are supposed to be getting back together to do a tour. So Billy Corgan, Jimmy Chamberlain, James Iha, and Darcy. I think it's Wetsky is how you pronounce her last name. I'm not 100% sure. So they're supposed to be getting back together, and it should be interesting. I mean, I saw the Pumpkins for Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. And not too long before, there was the keyboardist OD'd, and they blamed on Jimmy Chamberlain, and then they replaced Jimmy Chamberlain on the tour with the drummer from, was it Fuel or is it? Oh my God, I'll think of it in a second. But anyways, so that they're doing that, and it's one of those things I think is kind of, we need the money because obviously the Pumpkins evolved over the years, which happens with every band, and it's fine. And then once Darcy left, they brought in Murray Oftamar, who ended up in Hole for a little bit as well. And speaking of bassist, and so it just interesting still to see how that tour will go, because I'm not saying I'm not interested, but at the same time too is I want to see what kind of money they're charging first before I decide to go and see them, because like I said, I've seen them before, so it's I haven't seen them, but I saw them before all that melee and all that crap happened.
I think it would probably be a pretty decent show to see. I mean, anybody who's ever listened to the Melancholy album, that's just such a great album that goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. I had the fortune to see James Iha when he was with A Perfect Circle, and he blew me away then.
Oh, nice.